How do you explain the silence that follows three simple words? The porch door's still unlocked. Her shoes are by the mat. Everything looks untouched, like she might walk back in any second. But she doesn't. I keep staring at the message she sent me that night. Just one drink. The kind of text that should mean nothing. But now it's the last thing she ever said to anyone. Her jacket's still hanging where she left it. Her tea mug sits beside the stove, cold, waterline half full. On the passenger seat of my truck, where she should have been, there's something that doesn't belong. An unopened soda can. Perfect seal. No fingerprints but mine. My name is Patrick. She's my sister. We grew up sharing walls, secrets, and the same small-town habits. She worked nights. She hated being late. She never missed a call from me. That's how I know something went wrong. That night, I drove by the bar twice. Not sure why. I remember seeing her car in the lot the first time, gone the second. I checked my phone. One missed call from an unknown number. 3 minutes after she texted. I tried calling back. No answer. When the police asked when I last saw her, I couldn't give them a time. I couldn't even be sure of the sequence anymore, where the gap started or how I'd lost it. Now her phone's dead, her car's at the impound, and that unopened can sits on my table like a quiet accusation. I keep asking myself the same question. Why was it there? And why is it still cold? Did anyone else notice how her hands wouldn't stay still? She sat at the 8th stool from the door, the same spot people take when they don't want to be noticed but can't stand being alone. Mary had this calm kind of tension about her, like she was trying to hold herself together from the inside out. She ordered gin, no tonic. Said she'd only stay for one. Her voice was steady, but her bracelet kept turning under her fingers, round and round, like a habit that meant something. I remember how careful she was with her things. Purse open, phone on the counter, 3 unread messages lighting the screen. She looked at them, then turned the phone face down. That's when he came in. Quiet man. The kind who doesn't have to say much to fill a room. He took the stool beside her. Didn't order right away, just watched her reflection in the glass behind the counter. When I walked past, he asked if she came here often. His tone was easy, but the question didn't fit. I said I wasn't sure. He smiled a little. Not at me, but like he'd just confirmed something to himself. She left for the restroom a few minutes later. I noticed because she left her bag open, her drink half finished, her phone still face down. Felt temporary. Like she meant to be right back. But she didn't return. The bartender checked the hallway, said the door to the back alley was unlocked. We thought maybe she'd stepped outside for air. But when the police came later, they said no one saw her leave through the front or back exits. Her name was already spreading by morning. I still have the napkin she doodled on while waiting, a small house, a river, and something that looks like an eye. I don't know why I kept it. Maybe because I didn't want to believe a simple drawing could be the last thing she left behind. Sometimes when I wipe the counter, I swear I still hear her bracelet tap the wood. Soft, even, deliberate, for times. Then silence. And that silence has never left this place. How do you make sense of a frame that refuses to tell the truth? The pixel at 8:33 is a wound I keep reopening. The station handed me the footage, and I've replayed that second until the numbers on the screen blur. In it, Mary walks down a narrow corridor between the bathrooms and the back exit. The feed freezes, right as she turns her head, like someone called her name. Then it skips. The next frame shows only an empty hallway. No movement, no trace, just gone. I am Detective Ava Rourke. I still keep paper files, the kind that leave ink on your fingers and truth in your gut. Inside this one, a receipt from the bar, a lipstick-stained napkin, and a shaky drawing of a river with an eye above it. Lydia handed me that napkin herself, trembling. When I traced the river bend with my thumb, I recognized it. An old ferry route, abandoned since the flood 5 years ago. We canvassed the area. We asked everyone who might have seen her. The bartender first said he saw a man in a black jacket leave with her, then changed it. Said maybe it was another night. Maybe another woman. Memory is a fragile witness. You lean too hard and it breaks. Down at the pier where the old ferry used to dock, I found something wedged between the boards. A small piece of metal, dull and cold. When I picked it up, I saw it was part of a bracelet clasp, twisted inward, like someone had pulled at it in panic. No name, no engraving. But a single blonde hair was caught in the hinge, fine, human, unmistakable. We sent it to the lab. Then came the waiting, the kind of silence that hums inside you. The footage didn't fail by accident. Someone wanted that moment erased. Someone decided exactly when Mary would vanish. What do you do when the river gives you back something it shouldn't? I work nights along the riverwalk, tightening bolts, clearing branches, checking the boards no one notices until they break. That morning, the air was heavy and still, the kind of quiet that makes every sound feel deliberate. I walked my usual route, step by step, until a flash of metal caught my eye beneath one of the lower beams. I crouched down, reached between the boards, and pulled it out. A bracelet, the clasp bent sharply inward, as if it had been torn from someone's wrist. Around the hinge was a single strand of blonde hair, caught tight, like it didn't want to let go. I found plenty of things before, old coins, tangled fishing lines, scraps from storms, but this felt different. The wood around the beam was splintered, freshly marked, as if someone had clawed upward from below. There were drag lines on the damp boards. A struggle. You could feel it. I placed the bracelet on the pier railing and walked up to the maintenance office to report it. Standard procedure. But when I returned less than 15 minutes later with a patrol officer, it was gone. Only a dark smear remained where it had been, and beside it, the faint print of a boot heel, half washed away by the rising tide. Someone else had been there. Someone who didn't want that bracelet found. I gave my statement, every detail I could recall. They took notes, nodded, moved on. But I keep going back to that same spot at dawn. Because the river has a strange way of holding secrets, and every time the tide shifts, I can't help but wonder what else it's hiding just beneath the surface. What can a single bag say when it's been silent beneath the pier for days? We recovered a duffel wedged deep between two joists, its canvas stiff with silt and time. When I unzipped it, the smell of the river came first, that cold, metallic scent that clings to everything it touches. Inside were clothes flattened by water, a pair of work gloves, and a plastic sleeve protecting a folded note. 3 words blurred across the page. Not his name. The ink had bled, but the message was still sharp enough to cut through the noise. Whoever wrote it wanted someone to know, before they ran out of time. At the lab, I began with the basics. Swabs, fibers, surface lifts. The duffel's inner seams held small traces of skin cells and a single strand of blonde hair, a match to the one found in the bracelet clasp. That connection changed the tone of the room. This wasn't just debris anymore. It was a link. Under the microscope, the fibers told their own story. The pattern wasn't from ordinary fabric. It belonged to a mechanic's coverall. We ran comparisons and found a chemical trace of automotive grease, the same composition found in pickup engines built within the last decade. It narrowed the field to someone who worked with their hands, someone who knew how to fix things or how to hide them. We also processed an unopened soda can from Mary's car. Odd detail, it was sealed, never opened. The outside showed faint streaks of cleaner residue near the pull tab, like someone had wiped it down in a hurry. But beneath the tab, we recovered microscopic flakes of skin, 2 distinct sources. One matched Mary. The other didn't match anyone in the state database. Evidence doesn't rush to speak. It waits for you to listen closely enough. Every fiber, every partial print, every trace tells a piece of a conversation someone thought they'd erased. And tonight, as the data aligns, the bracelet, the note, the soda can, it feels less like coincidence and more like a whisper saying, keep going. How do you explain a drive you don't remember taking? The room is small, too clean, too quiet. There's a camera on the wall and a recorder blinking red. They tell me it's for accuracy, but it feels like a mirror that sees more than it should. I start slow, careful. I tell them I left Mary at the bar. I tell them I drove straight home. I tell them I didn't go anywhere near the pier. But my voice doesn't sound steady. Even to me, it sounds like someone trying to remember the truth through fog. Detective Rourke slides a folder across the table. GPS data from my truck. A blue line crawling across the map, my route highlighted. There's an extra loop, 12 minutes unaccounted for, veering off toward the old quarry road. I stare at it, and my mind goes blank. I tell them the system must have glitched. They tell me it doesn't glitch that precisely. Then they show me a still frame from a traffic camera. My truck, time-stamped 1:47 a.m., empty passenger seat. My hand visible on the wheel. I remember the drive home being shorter, straighter. But maybe that's just what I wanted to remember. They ask why my phone was off for 30 minutes. I say the battery died. It's a lie that tastes thin. When they place the soda can on the table, I freeze. It's sealed. Familiar. My fingerprints are on the outside, they've already told me that. I try to explain that I found it later in the truck. Picked it up without thinking. They don't answer. They just wait. The silence does more damage than the questions. They say someone tried to clean the top of the can. That solvent was found near the lip. They ask if it was me. I look at the can and feel a pulse behind my ribs. I can't remember wiping it. But I can't say for sure I didn't. The questions come like small cuts. Steady, precise, patient. Did I follow her? Did I see her leave? Did I touch anything I shouldn't have? I answer what I can. But what I keep hearing, over every word, is the sound of her bracelet, tapping wood, and the silence that came after. How do you live inside the silence your child leaves behind? The call came early. The detective's voice was steady, rehearsed, almost gentle. The kind of tone people use when there's no good way to say what they have to. They'd found her near the quarry road, wrapped, carefully, as if someone wanted to hide her from weather but not time. The coroner said the cause was drowning and blunt force trauma. Words that don't sound like death until you realize they're the last thing she'll ever be described by. At the station, they laid out what they'd built, the soda can, the bracelet, the duffel. The evidence sat between us like pieces of a life translated into numbers and swabs. The report tied the grease residue to a truck registered through Patrick's workplace. The prints on the can, his, not smudged by accident, not placed by chance. And the solvent? A cleaner used where he worked. That detail ended every defense I tried to believe. Court was not a place for peace. It was a place where time slowed and the truth stripped itself bare. The prosecution rebuilt her last night second by second. The bar, the text, the missing 12 minutes. The jury watched, listened, and took notes while I tried not to. When the verdict came, guilty, it didn't heal anything. It didn't fix the hole where her laughter used to live. But it named what we already knew. And sometimes, naming is the only form of justice the living get. After sentencing, I went to the riverbank she loved, the same spot where the water meets the old path. I placed one thing beside her photo, the unopened soda can. The tab still sealed, the metal cold under my hand. It was small, ordinary, but it carried everything. Her promise, her end, our truth. I whispered her name and let the silence finish the sentence she never could. If Mary's story moved you, if justice, no matter how late, still matters, subscribe to the Veil of Secret, because every truth deserves a voice, and every silence deserves to be broken.